thing is a dream build. Man, we've ticked every single box. Myself and MX Store have created an absolute freeride monster. History of Prutti, big time racer guy, turned full-time freeride guy. Then I just sort of started getting into the bike build things on the side because it felt like freestyle bikes weren't really something I wanted, but race bikes weren't really something I wanted. And then that's kind of now evolved into like another big passion of mine, which is building bikes. Sort of like what we're building here. Now I just love traveling so much and do it as much as I possibly can with dirt bikes to just try and ride and have as many experiences in the sport that I absolutely love. Yeah, so for this one I wanted to go something different. I wouldn't say like a vintage look, but I kind of like those colors, like the earthy kind of tones. I think they're really in at the moment and I don't think many people are doing them on bikes. So that was kind of the inspiration behind this build. As you can see the frame here. We've also upgraded like the wheels. So again, like the bikes are copying some pretty heavy abuse with the big jumps. We've got hubs to sort of similar color, like that earthy kind of tone, as well as some other components, from suspension to wheels to performance. So we're basically trying to make this bike as durable as possible, while also looking as badass as possible at the same time. MX Store have been fortunate enough to not only hook me up with a whole bunch of parts to deck this bike out head to toe, but they've also supplied me with one of their head mechanics down there, Dill. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun. We've got a tight deadline because I'm hoping to sneak in some riding in while the boys are still down here. So fingers crossed I've got every part here that I need. Fingers crossed we don't stuff anything up and we can have this bike ready to go within the next sort of 48 hours.
We're just throwing the brand new bearing races in. Obviously we've had the frame powder coated, so that had to be removed. Once we get these in, we'll be able to tackle the triple clamps and then throw the front end together. Alright, so we just got a brand new set of Talon triple clamps. These things look trick. Now the important part of the steering head assembly is greasing the bearing. Now it's important to grease in between the rollers, not just on the outside, because it's actually going to increase the life of the bearing and make it perform the way it should. Just throwing the triple clamps on, throwing the forks in as well. It's super important to torque the triple clamp bolts up to spec because this is obviously going to impact the forks performance. When they're too tight, it's going to cause more friction and reduce the forks performance as well. So we're just going over and torquing them up. We've got 20 at the top and 17 at the bottom. They're stamped on the triple clamps, which makes it nice and easy.
So I'm running the CFT ODI bars, so the Control Flex technology bar. I like to run it as stiff as I possibly can, but it's awesome to have that adjustability. I'm also running the all new Talon Raptor triple clamps, and now these have adjustable offset. So this is something I'm looking to really play around with once we get the bike going. So basically you can rake the bike out or shorten it right up.
All right, so while Prutti's smashing at the bike build, I'm over here just making sure everything's neatly set out, ready to go, because there's nothing worse when you're working in a dirty workplace. So we've got all some engine bits here, we've got the pipe ready, radiators, seats ready to go, and then obviously a skid plate last. So we're just trying to get a bit of an assembly line going. That way it makes the bike build that much easier and it'll get built like this.
Okay, so this is a little trick that I learnt. Basically just to make the bike builds as simple as possible by filming everything while it's still all together. So often I can have my bike builds fully apart for months at a time. So for me, I absolutely forget where everything goes. So much more simple. I go back on my phone, I look at the video, I have a full lap over the bike, I know where all the electronics go, I know where all the routing goes, and it makes my life 10 times easier.
The radiators on now. This is a fairly straightforward process. We've thrown some SC1 on the radiator hoses just to slide them on nice and easy. And you'll see here that Prutti's actually done a custom thin job here, making some extra airflow. He did say his bike gets quite hot hitting ramps all day, a lot of stop-start riding. So we'll throw these radiators on and we'll get this bike fired up shortly. We just had to throw the radiator hoses back on. As you can see, Prutti's actually done a little custom mount job for the kill switch and start button here. This prevents like any catastrophic event in the air if he happens to slap the kill switch when he's doing seat grab tricks and stuff like that. So it's a nice little mod that a lot of free riders do and a lot of freestyle riders do as well, just for extra safety. Alright, we're just about to throw this linkage axle bolt through. Because the swing arm has been powder coated, it does have a layer on it, so we're going to have to Dremel that off. That way we can slide this linkage bolt through and be as smooth as butter.
Good little trick of the trade. If you have greasy as hands after working on a bike all day and then you start putting on a white seat, a little bit of contact cleaner, clean rag, give that thing a spray and a wipe down and it'll just about get every little bit of dirt and oil off there. That's a wrap on day one. So stoked on how much we got done. Massive, massive day. As you can see, the bike is getting pretty close to being complete. We just got some wheels and a few other little small cosmetic things and this thing will be up and running. I'm stoked. I think I'm going to get a whole bunch of ride time in while the boys are still down here from MX store. Epic, epic day.
Alright guys, we're back for day two. The build's almost finished. We can't wait to see Prutti have a session on the thing at his own private compound. We're just throwing the tyres on now. Throwing tyres on isn't necessarily a fun job. Normally we'd throw it out in the sun, but we're here in Canberra. It's 2 degrees outside, so we've actually had the tyre in front of the heater instead, just to make it a bit more pliable, a bit easier to put on. We're also using the Ballard's tyre changer. Now this isn't normally a necessity to have, but it definitely makes changing tyres a hell of a lot easier, and when you're working with brand new rims, it saves scratching them. This KTM, we're actually going to upgrade the axle blocks. The original ones are Loctited on, so it's a little bit of a process to undo, but the Works Connection axle blocks come with a special tool to help undotting the axle block much easier. So the Works Connection ones are actually a bit of an upgrade. They have more markings on here, so it actually helps with rear wheel alignment. So that's super important when it comes to your chain drive, making sure that's straight and making sure the bike tracks, especially when we're hitting ramps and stuff like that. It's super important. So we're going to go ahead and install these. So we just got a heat gun here. We're going to heat up the axle. The original axle block is actually Loctited on, so the heat gun's going to help undo that Loctite and snap the seal. So we've just removed the axle from the axle block. Now we just got to clean up the thread, reapply some Loctite, and then install that upgraded Works Connection axle block.
So So I'm basically just in the process of mounting up the MotoMaster oversized brake disc kit. It comes in a whole kit, which makes it super easy. So you get your pads, your hanger bolts, your larger hanger to fit the larger disc. And yeah, I'm just basically in the process now of just swapping everything over so we can mount these things straight up onto the bike.
Alright, so we're about to throw the DID X-Ring chain on. Now this is going to be the perfect heavy duty chain for this bike because Prutti's obviously going to be hitting ramps, stuff like that. There are a variety of chains available in the market. You've got non-O-ring, O-ring, and then your X-Ring's about the happy medium in between the two. So you do pay a little bit extra, but you're going to get a lot longer life and a little bit less drag than the O-rings. Alright, so when installing your chains, pretty straightforward. Measure twice, cut once. I've made the mistake many a times putting chains on and cutting them too short, and there's not a lot you can do when the rear wheel's all the way pushed forward. So it's always better to measure twice, cut once.
Just about to put on the ODI lock-on V2s. I've recently become like a super big fan of lock-ons. Just for me riding, my bikes are always spotless. I'm always washing them, so there's always water around, and I found by not using lock-ons that it wouldn't take very long for them to start spinning, and for me when I'm riding, there is nothing worse than having two throttles on that bike.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Getting on this thing for the first time literally blew my mind. It's so crazy what suspension, some power parts, and some bling can really do. The thing's got cosmetic power, it's got horsepower, and it's got the stiffest, best setup suspension that I've ridden as far as freeride. So for me, this thing just ticks absolutely every box, and riding it for the first time, like I had the biggest smile on my face. I'm so stoked that it come out how it did. Like it's just, yeah, this is for me, is by far my best build, and I'm so stoked to be teamed up with MX Store for it.